What's good, Zimbabwe muhle muri Zimbabwe mthakazo muhle lingalichona njani izulu kandaba kwazwai muri Zimbabwe. If you're tuned in right now, you're tuned in to Live Talk, the connection brought to you by Studio 7 of Voice of America on Tuesday, the 26th of January, 2021. Muri Zimbabwe mthakazo muhle. I'm your host, Mike Hove. Now, muri Zimbabwe, unfortunately, due to umkhuhlane COVID-19, due to chegore, cheCoronavirus, this program is a pre-recorded program. What this means is for you, our callers, you cannot call in live as per usual. However, muri Zimbabwe, tichitarisa pano pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki, sisonke like so, guhlelo lethu labasakhulayo. So what you can do, muri Zimbabwe, is you can send us your feedback on WhatsApp on +1 202 465 0318. The number again, +1 202 465 0318. You can also share the program because this program is going to be available on our 3 Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Ndebele, and VOA Studio 7. So you can share the program with your networks and we can watch the program in your numbers. Don't forget, muri Zimbabwe, lingakhohlwa phela ukufitizela laphaya okubhala ukuthi like njalo ukuthi share ukuze sibone kuphela ukuthi sikhona sonke namhla kuhlelo lethu labasakhulayo ukuthi kuthoneka ukuthi nasi ayiwatripo nowandu wedu pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki. Tonight on The Connection, kuhlelo lethu labatsha, we continue the discussion on the COVID-19 pandemic, cheCoronavirus. But we're also not ending the conversation there following the inauguration of U.S. first female vice president, Kamala Harris. We're going to be revisiting the discussion on gender equality. What does the first female of the United States, first female vice president mean when we look at the general discussion of gender equality, not just in America, but worldwide? Now, we're also going to have a special guest joining us, Pano Pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki, Zimbabwe's representative at the 2021 MTV Africa Music Awards under the Listener's Choice category. ASAPH is going to be joining us tonight. We're going to be talking music, awards, and a lot more. But first up, umkhuhlane coronavirus, chegore, COVID-19. First up, health, muri Zimbabwe. According to the latest information released by the Ministry of Health, as of last night, Zimbabwe had 2,374 PCR tests that were conducted. 326 new cases were detected, 627 recoveries, and 70 deaths. Now, of those 70 deaths, 6 are in Bulawayo, 48 in Harare, 9 in Manicaland, 1 in Mashonaland Central, 2 in Mashonaland East, 3 in Midlands, and 1 in Muchirongwa. I repeat, 70 deaths. Of those 70 deaths, 6 in Bulawayo, 48 in Harare, 9 in Manicaland, 1 in Mashonaland Central, 2 in Mashonaland East, 3 in Midlands, and 1 in Muchirongwa. Now, when we look at the cumulative cases, Zimbabwe currently has 31,646 cumulative COVID-19 tests, cases, 22,877 recoveries, and 1,075 deaths. Now, in Zimbabwe, one of the things that was put in place towards curbing the spread of coronavirus in Zimbabwe was the lockdown. This Zimbabwe has been on a level 4 lockdown for almost a month now. So we reached out to medical experts and, of course, Zimbabweans at large to hear their thoughts on the lockdown, to hear the impact, the necessity behind it, and, of course, how they're surviving under the current COVID-19 lockdown. Let's hear more from Zimbabweans themselves. Reuters took to the streets and they spoke to medical experts and Zimbabweans. Let's hear more from them.
Your main issue and how you must think about it and what most likely informed that decision is that all our COVID admission facilities were almost 100% full. What that means is when the number of new patients were almost doubling every 24 hours, you're going to have a situation where you have 100 people who need admission in one night and they have nowhere to go. One of the things we have to really do is to increase the admission capacity, increase the amount of oxygen, the supplies, so that when we do reopen, it's going to be obviously a phased reopening, but then we have increased capacity.
What we're going to make is going to expand heads.
Tinogona rwadziwa nekuti tinenge tichida kuti tichage zvokuraramawo tichida tichizama kuti tibatsirikana asi inini handioni sepane chakaipa ipapo.
Mazuva atipa ndo akawandisa. Dai vatipawo 14 days akaita South Africa tichiendawo kubasa zviri as usual. kwete kuti tibve tagara mumba for 30 days ii tingafa.
Chikafu chatatatenga muChristmas kwamo changa chiri $10 chaicho, saka tisisina futi, saka patabva tangonzi musi wa2 tobva tangonzi 5 lockdown pakaipa. Tinokumbira kuti hurumende kana itati togara mudzimba tinogara, but yotibatsirawo nechikafu.
Muria Zimbabwe Mtsoka Moshe, you're hearing there from Zimbabweans and medical experts chipping in on the lockdown. Zimbabwe has currently been on level 4 lockdown for almost a month. Now, whether or not that lockdown is going to be extended, we wait to hear more from Uhulumende Kamongameli Emmerson Mnangagwa. But whilst on the same discussion of Uhulumende Kamongameli Emmerson Mnangagwa, 2 days ago, President Emmerson Mnangagwa addressed the nation to give people an update on what the government has done in terms of helping in Zimbabwe's fight against COVID-19. Let's hear more from President Emmerson Mnangagwa in a clip that we have, courtesy of the Ministry of Information's Twitter page.
Help is on the way. Your government is doing all it can to ensure our nation is defended and protected. More substantive announcements will be made in the coming days. In the meantime, let us continue to behave responsibly and even raise our collective vigilance for our own safety and that of those dear and close to us. We will overcome, and as leadership, we stand shoulder to shoulder with you as we work to defeat this global pandemic.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe Mtsoka Moshe, you're hearing there from President Emmerson Mnangagwa. That was him addressing the nation 2 days ago, a clip that we received courtesy of the Ministry of Information's Twitter page. You are hearing him here, there updating Uzulu on what government has been able to accomplish and been able to do, and of course what is upcoming as government continues helping in the fight against COVID-19. As I mentioned earlier on, so far coronavirus has taken over 1,000 lives, 1,075 lives to exact, in Zimbabwe. Now, once again, this is a pre-recorded program. So what this means is right now, as I come to you, Muria Zimbabwe, 1,075. However, by the time we go on air, there's a possibility that these numbers may increase. Now, let's head over to the youth themselves. We reached out to the spokesperson of the Young Journalist Award, Young Journalist Association, Leopold Mnende. Leopold Mnende talks about the challenges that they're facing as journalists. Now, these are people who are part of essential workers. These are people who are working on the front line as they work hard to ensure that Zimbabwe is kept updated in terms of the information, in terms of what's happening in the nation, COVID-19 related. Let's hear more from Leopold Mnende as he tells us his thoughts on what's happening in Zimbabwe, COVID-19 related, and the challenges that they're facing as journalists.
I think locally, I would say they are quite as low as one would expect, especially considering the way we are living as a country, the informal sector, the way our high-density suburbs are so congested. I think the numbers are low, mainly because government is not testing as much as it should or it could. For example, I think about last week, we recorded one positive case in the whole of Matebelele North, and that's one of the country's largest provinces. Imagine we test one person in that kind of province, which is very disappointing. I think we need to test more.
Now, let's delve into you guys as journalists. You guys, as I mentioned earlier on, you're on the front lines. Whenever there's big events, we see journalists are there. You're reporting on different circumstances and so much more. This is even during a global pandemic. What precautions are you guys taking as young journalists to ensure that you don't contract coronavirus? We see since March up until today, there's a couple of journalists who have actually succumbed to COVID-19. So I'm curious about that.
You know, that's a very important question. And we would have hoped that maybe media employers, editors, and those who are above us, young journalists, would take note of the risk which we are putting ourselves in on a daily basis. But now the challenge is, let's say the president is going to address at Mununtapa, his offices. The challenge is that every one of us wants a shot, and every one of us wants a shot which will be accepted by the editor or the producer at the end of the day. So although we might want to socially distance during our work, the challenge is that the best shot is within a meter, and everyone wants to occupy that particular. So at the end of the day, we tend to ignore the social distancing part. But although we wear masks, of course, and we sanitize our hands, but when it comes to social distancing and stuff like that, we tend to overlook that, which is very unfortunate because we've had colleagues who have tested positive to COVID-19. Some of them, especially earlier on, some of them have succumbed to the disease. It's very unfortunate that this has been happening. What we would like to see maybe is a situation where these people who call us for press conferences and things like that, we would really love to see a situation where they do it online. Look at what we are doing here. Right. We're having a conversation and we are doing it online and it's working fine. If people want to have questions, they can do it on Zoom. They add journalists ask questions, the public official answers. That way there is equal, in fact, there is adequate social distancing.
Let's delve into the discussion around PPE. I know that was a really, really big talk for you guys last year, especially when COVID was really hectic. We all know patient number one was a prominent journalist, young Zororo Makamba. Where is the status on that situation? Have you guys started receiving PPE? Is it adequate enough? What's going on?
We have had PPE from, I think it's the Media Institute of Southern Africa at one point. That was last year. And then newsrooms have generally been given the responsibility to take care of their own people, you see. So at the end of the day, I get a face mask from my organization, and then whoever the other person gets from the organization. Those PPEs which have been donated have not been enough. I still remember the late Foster. I was with the late Foster Dongozi at this other function where PPEs were being donated to journalists. I'm forgetting the person who was donating, or the organization which was donating, but I could tell from the quantities that it was not enough for journalists across Zimbabwe. I'm sure each province was getting about 20 face masks. Maybe we as journalists have to be proactive and approach some of these organizations instead of sitting back and saying, you're not supporting us. They want us to die and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, give them blame to a certain extent. PPEs should be cheaper, easily accessible. But we also have to be proactive instead of waiting for this pandemic to catch up with us.
You guys have been on the forefront throughout this whole time as essential workers. So what challenges have you faced throughout this time?
Firstly, I'll say after March, our main challenge was recognition as essential service providers. We had cases where state security agents, be they the military, the police, or central intelligence organization, would arrest, harass, beat up journalists, even if you produce your press card, which is very common in Zimbabwe. And then the second challenge was, of course, access to PPEs.
At the very least, are you at least able to navigate better under the lockdown? I know for a fact government at some stage stepped in after the first, like you mentioned, fracas that happened with the state security agents, and we heard Honorable Monica Muchirongwa and, like you mentioned, Mr. Nick Mangwana himself stepping in and then reassuring journalists that no, you are an essential service member and you should be able to work. You are part of doing this job towards helping Zimbabwe fight against COVID-19. Yes. So has that changed, at least at the very least, that aspect, has that changed?
I think there has been a relative improvement in the sense that we've had no beatings at the present moment. And of course, we've had harassments, confrontations after Vice President Chiwenga announced this current lockdown. But we have not had the same problems or the magnitude of the same problems with the same magnitude as those of March. In March, we were being beaten up. A workmate was forced to job, mark time on one spot just for being a journalist. Now, we have not yet reported those kind of things. What we have reported are cases where a journalist maybe might be delayed at a police checkpoint may we have your press card, and then you show them, and then maybe they just how can I put it, harass you in a way, but not as bad as it was with the March one.
When we talk about the challenges that people are facing, you're the ones that are reporting it as journalists on the front line. What would you argue is the biggest challenge that people are facing under the COVID-19 lockdown?
Source of livelihood. You see, unlike most countries, Zimbabwe does not have a functioning industry. Our main employer is the informal sector. So with a lockdown in the mode of the current one, this what this does is it gives you two options. One, you get killed by COVID-19, or two, you get killed by hunger. So you choose. With an unemployment rate exceeding 90%, you can imagine the number of people who survive by selling goods and services or vegetables, something like that. And no one is allowed in town to sell, and no one is allowed to move around to sell. How are they surviving? That is the main challenge. And that is the reason why some of them are being arrested for violating COVID-19 lockdown restrictions.
Talk about the role of young journalists in helping Zimbabwe in the fight against coronavirus. What exactly do you think the kind of role you guys should be playing is? And of course, considering the fact that numbers are increasing by the day, do you think that what Zimbabweans, young journalists in Zimbabwe are doing is enough?
I think what we're doing is enough. I think we are trying our level best. Young journalists, I think they are the highest number of journalists in Zimbabwe at the present moment. We now occupy most spaces. But if we are to take this into context, whatever we try to conscientize the masses or the citizens or our audiences with, or if we try to teach them, socially distance, wash your hands with water for 20 seconds, use hand sanitizers. Now, I'll give you examples of how this might not work. One, if we tell them to socially distance, these people are the same, these are vendors, most of them. If they socially distance, then there's no one, they can't sell their way and they can't survive. So they'll tell you, hey, comrade, if I socially distance, then my family will die of hunger. If I tell them to wash their hands at least for 20 seconds, there are areas in Harare especially which have not had running water since 2005. Urban settlements which have not had running water since 2005. So yes, I'm telling that person to wash their hands for 20 seconds, but I haven't asked if he has running water in his home or he has clean water, you see. And then I tell them, use sanitizers. How much is a sanitizer going for locally? It's going for about the cheapest, which are not tested, which people use, are going for about $2, $3. But the ones which are recommended will exceed $5, $6. So for someone who's trying to sell something so that he or she only buys vegetables, for me to convince that person that you need a hand sanitizer comment, he will tell me, Chief, so those kind of things. So the economic situation in Zimbabwe has worsened, has put all Zimbabweans, maybe except those who are north of Samora. By north of Samora, I mean the elite. Those are the ones who can afford anything. They can afford ventilators, sanitizers in large amounts. But the general populace cannot afford anything. And if they could afford, it's not being given to them. There's no water. So yes, they'll tell you, but I'm going to 100 meters, go 20 seconds. Like, it can't. And you look at the message you're giving them, and you see that this message is very relevant, but it's failing to apply because of the economic and social challenges which they are facing on a daily basis.
Now, Leo, as Tindelu Tabalolo, ngolumi lokamama, singakagqibi ingxoxo yethu. Siyabona phela ukuthi elizweni inani labantu ababanjwa ngegciwane le-COVID-19 lokhu liqhubekela phambili likhwela. Njengentatheli zindaba ukubona njani lokho okwenzakalayo elizweni?
Mina ngithi inani leli elabantu ababanjwa igciwane le-COVID, lingani liyakhwela, kodwa mina ngithi ngabe likhwele ukwedlula ama-numbers lawa esiwanikwayo. ngoba thina asithesti kangaka. Ngabe singabantu abatestayo kakhulu besiyethuka sonke sesibona kuthiwa iZimbabwe kumbe sokulabantu abayi-10,000 asebebulawe yi-COVID-19. Uhulumende into afuze ayenze ukutesta everywhere njengalokho asekwenza. Khathesi ngisanda kubala imessage ethi eHarare ama-polyclinic asetesta for free. eGweru labo sebesenza njalo nasemntana. Lokhu usuzabona ama-numbers la engasenza sekhwela ngoba siyasitesta mahhala. Before that, bebebhatalisa ngama-65 US dollars. Imali eningi. 65 US dollars ngokutesta bethi negative kumbe bethi positive. Ama-numbers lawa uhulumende nakufuze one eteste zonke indawo lasemakhaya sibekwazi lokhu kuzasinceda ukuthi lathi sikwanise ukuplana njengohulumende lathi njengentatheli izindaba futhi ngapha kuhanjwa ngapha kuyahanjwa ngapha kufuna imessage nje ngapha kufuna imessage nje njalo uZulu engabona ama-numbers la ekhwela la uzethuka umuntu kasoze atshelwe ukuthi uhlala endlini esebona singithi into le yakudala uzasihlalela
ngela phela okuhlangana ngoZulu jikelele elizweni abantu bathini ngendubeko zabo phansi kohlelo lwe-lockdown.
Abantu bona bathi ungangcono befe ngeCovid kulokufa ngendlela yikho khuluma iningi labantu engihlangana labo bathi bona akuncedi ukuthi bezivalele endlini labantwana bemelele becatshela i-COVID-19 yona indlala ibakhanyela. Ungakhayela ilizwe leZimbabwe 90% kumbe over 90% abakho employed abanamsebenzi abasebenzi abaya emsebenzini. I-90% le okufuze ibe isebenza ngamavenda abantu abathengisayo abaphila ngokuthengisa bephuma emabhoda befika order bebuye bezothengisa lapha lala. So khathesi konke lokho akho uhulumende yena uthi sokule curfew akusavunyelwa ukuhamba awusavunyelwa ukuthi uphume ngobulawa iqonde eHarare ngawo seHarare ngokubulawa kasi so lapha abantu bona bathi uhulumende sebabulala ngendlela. So kusiba nabanye asebebuza i-science angazi ngithi ngesindebele i-science behind i-lockdown ukuthi kuyanceda yini lokhu abantu laba babuza ngoba indlala sibathuma ngathi madoda lokho esivalelwe la kodwa kuyanceda yini ama-numbers alokhu ekhwela kodwa thina sivalelwe la yikho okwenzakala yabo abantu babulawa indlala abantu bathi hayi ungangcono sibulawa indlala i-COVID kule lockdown. So ngani abantu bayesaba kodwa ngenxa yendlala esezindlini umntwana yabekhala umntwana asozazwisise ukuthi uthiwa ubaba akasavunyelwa ukuphuma endlini asozakuzwisise.
Manje udubo lolu lungalungisiswa njani Leo?
Mina ngibona ingani one uhulumende engathesta ama-numbers ekhanye sibili ukuthi ama-numbers ayariser and asikho kokudlala lokhu umuntu kasoze athunywe ukuhlala endlini uzazihlala endlini labantwana bakhe ezenzele lokhu abatshelana khona ukuthi sebenzisani izumbani ngesindebele sengikhulikize bangibona ukuthi ama-lemon abantu bazazenzela nxa abantu bengabona ama-numbers la asekhwela oku-dangerous. One, two, uhulumende wabhayiza ngokuthi wafaka abantu ku-lockdown engakacabangi ukuthi abantu laba uzabagcina ngani ukudla bazakuthola ngani njalo imali bazayithola ngani eyokuphila. Uhulumende wayenza ukuhle wasuspenda ukuya esikole ngoba abantwana babeya kufa kodwa ukudla-ke abantwana laba sebetshona ezindlini manje ngeke batshona ezindlini bengadlanga befuna ukudla ekuseni emini lantambama. Uhulumende wawufuze announce i-lockdown one enike abantu be-grace period 2 weeks abahambayo behambe emakhaya whatever and hope ukuthi thina abahambi le-COVID. Two, that would have given bona abantu isikhathi sokubuthanisa okuyimali ukuthi just in case i-lockdown le inga-extend le mali empuphu ngizadinga amaviki. Three, yena layo wakufuze announce i-lockdown esele database yabantu abafuna uncedo esekwazi hayi si-announce i-lockdown kodwa kulabantu abayi-7.5 million abafuna uncedo. Maye khathesi usezaqala khathesi manje udingana labantu abafuna uncedo ubeka u-lockdown bengavunyelwa ukuhamba So ungatohamba nebhalisa let's say kutohamba nebhalisa etown yangena njani umuntu etown kuyabhalisa.
Vamnende ngatipetei hurukuro yedu tichitaura nerurimi rweshona handiti. Tirikuona zviri kuitika munyika, nhambo yevanhu vari kubatwa nechirwere cheCovid-19 iri kuendera mberi ichikwira mazuva ose. Imi sevatapi venhau muri kuzvionawo sei zviri kuitika munyika yeZimbabwe?
Ini handisi kushamiswa nekukwira kuri kuita manumbers eCovid-19. Why? Ndikutofunga kuti manamba yamashoma. Ndikutofungira kuti dai hurumende yanga ichitesta sekutesta kwatiri kufungira kuti inofana kutesta. Manumbers dai yanga akadarika paari. Unowana mamwe maprovinsi hurumende ichitesta munhu 1 kana kuti ichitesta vanhu 5 hazvisi kubatsira. Asi ikatesta vanhu vese manumbers anokura. Handisi kushamisika semutapi wenhau. Pamwe inyaya yekuti tine tichizoverengawo ngoti aiwa no izvi takambozviona pakadai but hazvisi kundishamisa. Zviri kushamisa vakawanda handirambi ende vanhu vakawanda vari kuvhunduka nazvo. Asi ndiri kuuza kuti vasavhunduka nenyaya yekuti manumbers ari kutaurwa aya atori mashoma pane manumbers chaiwo chaiwo.
Ngatichipeta yedu hurukuro yedu. Ndeapi mashoko amungada kusiyira vechidiki munyika ava vari kusangana nematambudziko akati siyanei pasi pechirongwa chelockdown? Vazhinji vari kuchema vari kuti nyaya yekushomeka kwemabasa, ukuwo futi covid iri kurarwa, ukuwo futi covid iri kutora upenyu hwevanhu vakati wandei. Ndeapi mashoko amungada kusiyira vechidiki?
Ini mashoko andingade kusiyira vechidiki ndeyekuti ngatingoshandai nezviripo. Haisiri nguva yanga iri normal before coronavirus. Ndozviripo hapana zvatingaita sei zvatingazviita. Kumba hakuna mvura. Asi ngatichitsvakai mabhaketi awo tongoisa paside toziva kuti imvura yekugeza maoko munhu wese anouya pano. Ngatichisiyanayi neunhu hwekuvhisitirana mudzimba. Zvinonetsa. But ndo life yavapo. Kungoudzana shamwari inini ndina mama vanava mama vanorwara kana ukangouya unova expose awo. Munhu anonzwisisa rinyati nguva yeCovid. These are not normal times. These are now dangerous times, new times. And this is the new normal in any case. Ngatichizamai kuramba takadaro. Kana wawanawo mari, isusu vechidiki tisitofara zvinonaka. Ngatichisiyanai nezvinonaka izvi. Nenyaya yekuti I assure you, lockdown haisi kuzopera. Report manje yataiverenga yaitaura kuti nyika dzakaita sana Zimbabwe dzichadzoka back to normal around 2024. Ukawana kamari tenga hoof, you will never go wrong with hoof. Maveji tinozoona kutamba nemaveji. And hunger tinoita kuziva kuti ukutagadzisa zvavanani. Let us try kuti tirarame nezviripo. Hurumende haisati yatipa mari yekurarama, hurumende yakaannounce lockdown. Musati magadzirira but ndizvo zviripo. Hatingafika nenyaya yekuti tinoda kurarama, tingararama upenyu hatingararama upenyu.
Hayi ndaba liyamuzwa uLeopold Munende. Siyabonga tinotenda zvikuru vamunende nekupinda Muchirongwa vanga vachitipawo maondro avo semutapi wenhau uLeopold Munende ubesipa phela umbono wakhe ngalokho kwenzakalayo elizweni okumayelana ngokumemetheka kwegciwane le-COVID-19. So that was our Leopold Munende. Muri Zimbabwe joined us, the spokesperson of the Young Journalists Association. He was giving us his thoughts on the spread of COVID-19. Don't forget, Muri Zimbabwe, you can also give us your input. +1 202 465 0318 is the WhatsApp number. Please send us your voice notes and text us your input. We will be using your voice notes on our programs as we usually do. Makatirira chirongwa chedu chevechidiki twakazi omuhle Zimbabwe omuhle uhlelo The Connection lilami uMike Hove.
Hi, my name is Kukadzi, the founder and CEO of Tumeza, a delivery solutions provider based here in Bulawayo. I am for Bulawayo fighting against COVID-19. We are doing our part to stem the tide of this frightening disease by ensuring that our non-essential staff is working remotely from home. I challenge you, fellow citizens, to do the same.
Well, shout out to Kukadzi. So she is the founder of Tumeza. Uyakhuthaza phela uZulu ukuthi if you don't have to leave your house, please Muri Zimbabwe, stay home. Lingakhohlwi ngempela ukuthi zamani ngamandla wonke ukudinga amanzi ukuthi ligeze izandla traga imvura kuthi kumugeze omawoko muzvidzivirire kubva kunechirwere cheCovid-19. Now, Muri Zimbabwe was on the discussion of events that have happened throughout the lockdown. I'm sure over the times you have paid attention. Here on The Connection, we've talked to different people in different fields, artists amongst the people. Now, tonight we're joined by another special artist. He is a very, very special young individual. He is the 2021 MTV Music Africa Awards, MTV Mama Awards nominee, representing Zimbabwe under the Listener's Choice category, ASAPH. Now, ASAPH has had an incredible 2020, regardless of the fact that people were under lockdown, and of course, artists could not perform. However, he still kept them hits cranking out. Muri Zimbabwe, he cranked out so many hits, such as Vibe is Correct. He had Back to December and others. He was also featured on several different songs that were hit singles. For example, 263 with Jenna Griffiths, and of course, Nati O. Now, ASAPH, as I mentioned earlier on, has been nominated to be the Zimbabwean representative at this year's MTV Mamas that are going to be held in Uganda in February, just in a couple of weeks. Muri Zimbabwe. ASAPH joins us today, Pano Pachirongwa Chedu Chidiki, and he gives us his little input on what's happening with regards to the Mamas, and of course, he lets us know how, for those that like him, can vote for him. Let's head over to my interview that I had with ASAPH to hear more.
Yeah, let's take it back to December. It was a time to remember. 6 to 6, Valencia enter. Back to December. She's a number plus weather.
It was pretty exciting, bro, because like, if it's a first for Zim hip hop, you know what I mean? It's a first for an artist coming from the city, coming from Bulawayo. So I feel like making history twice. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty excited. Like it's such a great honor to represent the country on a continental level. You know what I mean? I was telling someone, this must be what Kirsty Coventry felt like when she was swimming at the Olympics.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm looking at the names that you went up against just to represent Zimbabwe. We haven't even started talking about the MTV Mamas, man. You went up against a couple of big names that have won both regional and continental and international awards. Yet here you are, the guy who was championed to represent Zimbabwe at the MTV Mamas. What does that say about the rallying and the support that you're receiving right now, man? How does it feel?
It came to me in like two ways, right? Because I also feel like a lot of people are tired of the same old, you know what I mean? They are really dying for fresh faces to be pushed out there, for fresh things to be pushed out there, you know what I mean? And it was pretty exciting the way people came around me and were like, yes, let's go in, we're behind you, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty exciting, bro. During that week leading up to the announcement, like even the hashtag, ASAPH for Mama trended like a couple of times, you know what I mean? So I was pretty excited. I was a bit confident yet, even though I did know like I'm going up against like guys who have a huge following, right? But I kind of had my confidence because I was seeing online the way people were really like behind me saying, I'm going to vote 50 times, I'm going to vote 100 times to make sure. You know?
Right. You touched on something brief earlier on. It's a first for Bulawayo. It's a first for Zim hip hop, right? Artists from Bulawayo for a very long time have felt as though they've been sidelined. Not just Bulawayo, but a lot of areas similar like that. Yet here you are, ASAPH, the guy who went up against the likes of Winky D, Shah and all those guys, and you were the guy champion. What does that say in terms of the focus? Do you think that this is going to open the gates for artists from places like Bulawayo?
I don't think it's going to automatically open the gates. I just feel it shows that it can be done. You know what I mean? It's not going to create a free pass or a say, oh, because he did it now. You know what I mean? No, it only will come if you're putting in the work. That's what I think. If you're consistently really putting in work, because especially in issues like this, I don't think there are things that will be reversed overnight. I don't think there are things that will be changed just because ASAPH got there, you know what I mean? I think there's still a lot that needs to happen in terms of the people who are actually giving opportunities to artists, you know what I mean? A lot needs to happen from them on that side. And even from the artist side, a lot needs to happen in terms of just being consistent year after year after year after year after year.
Let's take a little look at the MTV Mama Awards, the people you're going up against. I was like, wow, they really threw him in the deep end there. So you're going up against people who have, once again, continental and are also champions in their own countries, just like you. You're a giant in Zimbabwean entertainment. So we've got Durban Koko, we've got Focalistic from South Africa, big Amapiano names on the whole continent.
Yeah.
You've got Tiwa Savage from Nigeria, and then you've got ASAPH and other guys from other countries. How do you feel being mentioned along these names? And of course, what do you think your chances are of winning, man?
It's pretty exciting, I won't lie. I guess it's kind of showing me the level that I can rise to, or the level that if I'm serious enough, I can look at myself as, okay, I'm actually on this level. Now it's just about following through with the work, following through with the necessary moves, you know what I'm saying? Because if I'm already in that same conversation, then that should mean a lot, you know what I'm saying? And as far as what are my chances, bro, life is 50-50, man, because even to get to this point, everyone was like, hey, there's Winky D, there's Sasha, but look.
Are the people rallying behind you? Do you feel as though the nation is coming together and championing you to ensure you can take this?
Slowly but surely, yeah. One thing I know about people, FOMO is a huge thing, you know what I'm saying? So it will snowball. Once you have, like, no one is just gonna support you but if they see, like, okay, everyone is supporting him, all right, let's support him, you know what I mean? Everyone has this thing of first. If they see a lot of big names, you know, DJ Stavo just tweeted saying, okay, yeah, we're behind this. Aishan, yeah, we're behind this, you know what I mean? And the more that happens, the more people say, okay, let's get into it. So I definitely know it will be a snowball effect, but there has been a bunch of people who have been writing for me since the first stage of the whole voting process, you know what I mean? So there are people who are really there saying, bruh, even if it means we're going to vote 1,000 times, we are doing it, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, those are the people that I focus on, you know what I mean?
You tell the audience how people could vote for you, of course. People want to know, where could they go?
You go to the MTV Mama website. That's www.mtvmama.com. Then you go to the vote option will show. You go there, it'll show you the categories. You go to listener's choice category and you look for ASAPH. Click that as many times, you know what I mean? Reload the page, and we'll get this thing.
2020 was a great year for you, man. You had a great run. You dropped a couple of hits. You featured on so many hits. What was that like? And of course, what do you have in store for the people in 2021?
It was pretty exciting, bro. And the crazy thing is, you only realize it when you look back, you know what I mean? Especially in a year like 2020, where you're not really sure, like, we're just doing any opportunity that comes, you're going to make the most of it, you know what I mean? So it's only now when I sit and look back at that and say, yeah, we actually did have a good run, bro. We put out like So as Pelimoya and all the collaborations that came out, Ginde, 263, you know what I mean? The one with Mara, like, so you're just like, okay, I actually put in the work. So it's pretty exciting. To be honest, sometimes I feel like these things don't hit me as hard as they should, because I'll be worried about, okay, what's next? What is the next thing that I have to do? Because me sitting and saying, oh, like so was last year, bro. You know what I mean? That's last year. What are you doing now? So for this year, what people can expect, just more music, bro. You know what I mean? More collaborations. Hopefully by the end of the year, a regional or continental feature or two.
As we wrap up, could you let the people know where they can find you on social media so they can get there? And of course, just remind them one more time where they need to go to vote.
If you want to follow me on my social medias, I'm active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but most of all, my Twitter. So you can catch, that's ASAPH Africa. ASAPH Africa. Africa with the K, not a C, with the K. So, and for the voting, people can go to www.mtvmama.com. That's where you can get all the voting done. You'll see the tab that says vote. You click on that, the categories will come up. You go to listener's choice, you click on ASAPH.
Queens anything that could bring me down. Look, mommy, you better love me now. Yeah, they can't fight the clothes, they just got to know the vibe.
All right, Maria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Zimbabwe's very own ASAPH, the Zimbabwean representative at the 2021 MTV Africa Music Awards that are going to be held in February in Uganda. So, Maria Zimbabwe, if you're looking to vote for ASAPH, Msakangano, www.mtvmama.com, go to where it says votes, Scroll all the way to the bottom where it says listener's choice. And of course, you have all your selections. Amongst them, as I mentioned earlier on, you've got Tiwa Savage from Nigeria. You've got ASAPH from Zimbabwe. You've got Focalistic, one of the biggest amapiano artists on the continent right now. And of course, you've got Deben Koko, another amapiano artist on the continent. Now, Muria Zimbabwe was in the same discussion of what's been happening under lockdown. It seems as though today we're covering a lot of things that have happened during the global pandemic. As we all know, the global pandemic has been running for over a year. Earlier on, I mentioned that we're going to be touching on another discussion, which is a discussion around gender equality. Now, for those that do not know, America currently has a new dispensation, a word we seem to love, new dispensation here in the United States of America. Last week, we saw the inauguration of President Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States of America. But history was also made here in the United States of America. America saw itself inaugurating its first female vice president, and she so happens to also be the first female vice president of color. So that's like a double whammy, Muria Zimbabwe. She's breaking ground twice. Here we're talking about Kamala Harris, who is obviously America's 46th vice president. Now, Muria Zimbabwe, before we delve deeper, because the whole point of this conversation is to understand Kamala Harris and also understand the magnitude of her achievement. And of course, what does it mean in terms of the discussion around gender equality? We're now seeing a lot of women stepping into positions of leadership. Is it enough? Is it happening in Zimbabwe? I look to hear more from my guests later on. But first up, let's head over to a VOA report whereby they profile Kamala Harris. Let's hear more.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
A history-making moment in the United States.
So help me God.
As former Senator Kamala Harris becomes the nation's first female vice president.
It is my honor to be here, to stand on the shoulders of those who came before.
The 56-year-old Harris getting right to work alongside President Joe Biden and serving in one of her most important roles as the tie-breaking vote in a Democratic majority U.S. Senate. Harris also is the first Indian American and Black person to serve as vice president. Analysts say her rise sends a powerful message. The daughter of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, Harris grew up in Oakland, California. A mural of her now on the school she was bused to as a child as part of racial integration efforts.
She's broken so many glass ceilings for so many women.
A graduate of Howard University, an all-Black college in Washington, D.C., Harris became the first Black female San Francisco prosecutor beginning in 2004, and then California Attorney General in 2010.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up!
During Black Lives Matter protests this summer, some progressives complained Harris had been a much tougher prosecutor than she let on, took contradictory positions on the death penalty, and failed to hold police accountable for misconduct.
This is a moment in time that is requiring us to fight.
Harris first made history in California when she was elected to the U.S. Senate.
It's important that people see people in power that look like themselves.
Harris, who speaks often about her role as an aunt and a stepmother, is married to lawyer Doug Emhoff, who will now be the second gentleman, an entirely new position in White House history. And while the most important job for a vice president is to be ready to step in for the president if needed, analysts say Harris may also make use of her historic firsts. A new global role in the White House, celebrated halfway around the world in her ancestral village in India. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there, that was the profile of the current Vice President of the United States of America. Here we're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris, breaking ground, officially becoming the first female Vice President of the United States of America, the first female Vice President of color in the United States of America. You're hearing there. the amount of achievements that she's accrued over her political career, she has been a first for women in a lot of things when we're talking about American politics. She joins the ranks amongst other women global leaders that are currently holding political office. So I reached out to two prominent women who are both founders and, of course, that are both fighting for gender equality in Zimbabwe. Talent Madaba of she's the founder of Girl Child Excel, and we're also joined by Bethu Tsunga, who is the founder of Itemba for Girls Trust. Both of them join me via telephone. First up, we'll hear from Talent. Talent, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you let us know your thoughts on this? America now finally has their first female vice president. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike Hove. To reply you on the first question, that is asking my thoughts on America having the first female vice president who is a person of color. Well, I think it shows how racism is being tackled left, right, and center in America, as shown on the principles and values of democracy. Social inclusion makes a feasible and sustainable mechanism for a development of a nation. It goes beyond a united nation, but rather it becomes a progressive nation. Henceforth, America proved that democratic values are key towards fighting racism.
Tell me something, Talent. When we talk about gender equality, do you think Vice President Kamala Harris' achievement of becoming the first female vice president in American history contributes towards that discussion, not just in America, but worldwide?
Her appointment does not only contribute towards gender equality, but it converts said blueprints into action. That is, it becomes an art of action of things ever said, in various aspects. Many countries talk of equality, but they never practice it. The fundamental becomes knowing each other's capacity, irrespective of gender, inclusion into governance issues, and proper upholding of equal rights, which we can actually testify from what America has done.
Now, let me hold you there on the line for 1 second. Let me take Bethu Tsunga of Itemba for Girls Trust. Bethu, welcome to the program. We're talking about the achievements of our Vice President Kamala Harris and, of course, gender equality. What are your thoughts when we look at her achievements, her being the first female vice president? And, of course, do you think she contributes towards this general discussion of gender equality?
Greetings to you all. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to discuss gender equality in relation to the development that has taken place in the new American government. I consider the appointment of Kamala Harris as Vice President of America as groundbreaking. That is bringing diversity of America alive. She is the first female Vice President and the first person of color. The world is watching with a lot of anticipation as she brings different worlds together. She is a solid woman, a professional and politician in her own right, and the appointment does not come as a favor, but is based on a belief in her ability to deliver on her mandate. I believe Kamala Harris' appointment is revolutionary and sending chilling messages to patriarchal systems that their time is coming to an end.
Bethu, let me hold you on the line for 1 second. Let me go back to Talent to hear her thoughts on women in positions of power. Talent, over the years, we have seen a lot of women occupy positions of power. I'll give you an example. Of course, here in America, we've got Vice President Kamala Harris. The current Prime Minister of Gabon is female. And then we have Victor Dogbe Tomega, who was the first female president of Togo. Do you think that this has changed anything when we talk about gender equality worldwide?
Noting the history have told me, I think it is a trajectory of a drive into a positive direction. Hence, it becomes a practice which is centered on gender inclusion. I am glad that all those nations mentioned become the teachers where other nations can actually take lessons from. So, according to my view, I think it's actually a gender revolution.
Bethu, do you want to chip in on that one? What are your thoughts?
Perceptions are changing, expectations are increasing, refocuses are being made, and demand for equality is going to be intense. Indeed, we have heard many women taking up positions of authority and leadership in the world, and Africa has adequate examples in that area. Progress has been made in some areas towards gender equality, but much more still needs to be done. I believe gender equality is broader than just women taking up positions of leadership. It's not about statistics of women in positions, but it's about women given a chance to lead and thrive, given access and control of resources and making decisions without barriers. Whilst taking up positions of leadership is a great step and sets the ball rolling in that direction, I believe gender equality is achieving a society where there are equal opportunities for human beings, where people are not identified as girls or boys, but as people striving for the same opportunities. A society accepting that women are as able as men.
Now, whilst I still have you on the line, Betsu, let's head over to Zimbabwe, focus on Zimbabwe, of course. We also have some women occupying positions of power. The perfect example is Honorable Monica Muchirongwa, who is the current Minister of Information, very, very powerful position. Do you think that there are enough women occupying positions of power in Zimbabwe?
I believe since independence, there has been talk of gender equality in Zimbabwe, and we have seen some women taking up positions of authority here and there. Whilst we could do with more women in positions of authority, I would like to see the dignity of women restored in Zimbabwe more than them taking up positions. There is no way we can achieve gender equality when there is no dignity for women. We have witnessed women being called derogatory names in politics. Women and girls have no freedom of walking peacefully without being sexualized by men and nasty comments made at them. We also need a few women in those few positions to display ability that they can lead by amplifying the voices of all women when up there, standing for the cause of women on issues affecting women, pushing for legislation that protects women and girls. We need women who will make change and stand up and be counted, not just fill up positions and do nothing. That ends up confirming the stereotypes that women are not able as leaders. Let's have women in positions on merit.
Talent, do you want to chime in on that one?
Well, this is an interesting question. Well, I think there is much to be done in Zimbabwe in terms of respecting women. Example being Madame Coupe, who has faced all forms of abuse in trying to participate in national politics. The drive is not yet in for Zimbabwe, as women are threatened and thwarted in their rise to power. There are just few lucky ones who rise by the virtue of their proximity to those in power. We have several cases of women leaders abducted and tortured, which is a practice of old age. So for Zimbabwe, we need to start lighting up fire and cook a gender meal which all can eat.
Tichiri nemiparo nhare muzvare madava ngatimbozeyai nyaya nerurimi rwamai. Ndachikumbura kuti munyatsotsanangurira vateereri maondero enyu pamusoro pezviri kuitika kuno kuamerica. Tikuona kuti vhiki rapfuura kwakagadzwa vice president mutsva amai Kamala Harris. Tipewo maondero enyu, nemaondero enyu mungati zviri kubatsira here patinotarisa nyaya yekupa vanhukadzi mikana yekuzvisimudzira mikana yakaenzana nemikana iri kupiwawo vanhurume.
Maonero angu ndeyekuti pachava nekubatanidzwa kwevanhukadzi nevanhurume. Pachava nekugamuchira kuti vanhukadzi vanokwanisawo kuita zvematongerwo enyika. Uyezve pachashandura maonero epasi rose maererano nekutorwa kwevanhukadzi mune zvekuita nematongerwo enyika.
Aiwa, nguva ndiyo yadyanana. Muzvare madava regai tipe Betu mukana wekuti nayo apinde Muchirongwa tochipedza edu hurukuro yedu. Betu, kandaiwo mashoko maviri matatu tinzwewo maondero enyu.
Pasi rese riri kuratidza kuti riri kukurudzira kusimudzirwa kwaitwa munhu wemukadzi, zvakare ari munhu mutema kuAmerica. Kugadzwa kwaKamala Harris semutevedzeri mukuru wenyika yeAmerica kwafadza vanhu vazhinji nekuti zvaratidza kuti vanhu vari kugamuchira kuti nguva yekutungamirwa nemunhukadzi ari munhu mutema yasvika.
Aiwa takunzwa zvakanaka. Bethu bengicela ukuthi sithinte udaba lolu ngolumi lukamama ngamafishane bese sigqiba le ngxoxo. Nanti udaba lukhona egodweni awusitshela umbono wakho. Unkosikazi Kamala Harris nguye phela umuntu wesifazana wokuqala wokuba ngumsekeli kamongameli lapha kwele Melika. Ubona ngani lokhu kuyasiza na nxa sesikhangela udaba lolu lokuthi abantu abesifazana sebethola lawo amathuba alinganayo labesilisa. Achi kwele Melika kuphela but emhlabeni jikelele.
Siyakwamukela ngezandla zombili ukugcotshwa kukaKamala Harris njengomsekeli kamongameli kwele America. Okwenza sikwamukele ukuthi uKamala Harris ngumuntu wesifazane, okutsho ukuthi bakhona eMelika ababona efanele ukuba ngumsekeli kamongameli welizwe abakhokhele noma nje engumuntu ongumama aphinde abe ngumuntu onsundu, okutshengisela ukuthi laba abantu beMelika sebevuleke ingqondo, sebebona ukuthi ukuba lejwabu elimnyama lokuba ngumuntu wesifazana akutsho ukuthi ingqondo zimfitshane. Ukugcotshwa kukaKamala Harris esiba ngumsekeli kamongameli weAmerica kwamukelwe kuhle ngabesifazane abaningi kwele Zimbabwe. Babhalile ngobuningi babo bemenzela amhlophe, okutshengisele ukujabulela okwenzekileyo. Kupha abaningi ithemba lokuthi abantu besifazane bazawathola amalungelo alingana lawa abantu besilisa ngelinye ilanga.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, shout out to Betutsunga and Talent Madaba. Both of them are making amazing strides in the fight for gender equality in Zimbabwe. They were talking there on the strides that were made by the current Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Zimbabwe, let us know your thoughts. Do you think that the achievements, what was able to be achieved by the current Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, and of course, other women who are attaining positions of power, do you think that these things are helping in terms of acknowledging gender equality, in terms of embracing gender equality? Kwete pasirose muri Zimbabwe, kwete kunoko America chete, kwete Zimbabwe chete, but pasirose. +1 202 465 0318 is the number to text if you are looking to give us your thoughts. Muri Zimbabwe pasara 2 minutes pano pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki sekusele 2 minutes kuphela ukuthi sigqibe uhlelo lwethu. Muri Zimbabwe kana mchida kuti pamaondo renyu tumireka mashoko pa WhatsApp pa +1 202 465 0318. Makatira chirongwa chedu chevechidiki uhlelo The Connection.
Zikhipha lapho egama ngumawiza, I'm a quiet artist aka Mr. Ngikhuluma isikhiwa ngevenecule. Guys, COVID-19 abayibiza ngecorona into ekhona. Phambili nge-social distancing, asigezeni izandla always, stay safe, stay home. Last number.
Easy, easy, easy machita, easy, easy.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Mr. Nkulumiskiwa ngevenecula uMawiza, Mr. Last Number himself. Check him out on social media at Mawiza_Zim. Muria Zimbabwe ari kukurudzira vanhu hanzi aiwa musakanganweka kugeza maoko lingakhohlwa ukugeza izandla nxa ukuze lani lizame ukuzivikela from ukumemetheka kwegciwane le-coronavirus. Musakanganwe Zvekare ukuthi nxa liphuma phandle zilokandaba ligqoke phela ama-mask. Kwanelo kwanamhla mthakazo omuhle Zimbabwe muhle thashika kumagumo echirongwa chedu chanhasi muri Zimbabwe. Just another update one more time before we wrap up. PCR tests, COVID-19 statistics in Zimbabwe. As of last night, 2,374 PCR tests were conducted. 326 new cases were detected, 627 recoveries, and 70 deaths. Zimbabwe is currently sitting on a cumulative number of 31,646 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 22,877 recoveries, 1,075 deaths. Saka takatichizeya nyaya zvekutekeshera kwechirwere cheCovid-19 sitinte njalo udaba gender equality. Tikatarisawo zvekare zviri kuitika kuUganda uko MTV Mama Awards. So don't forget, if you're looking to vote for ASAPH, www.mtvmama.com. Go to the listener's choice category. And of course, Muri Zimbabwe, that's where you'll be able to find him. You just go to the bottom, lifitizele where isithombe esika ASAPH corner, and when you press there, you click submit, and Muri Zimbabwe, you would have voted. You can vote as many times as you want up until Muri Zimbabwe lingahamba ngo-February. That's when kuzabe kuvalwa phela ama votes. Let's meet the same time, same place. Pano pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki Muri Zimbabwe. If you're looking to get in touch with me, ndiripo pa Twitter nepa Instagram at BigMike3, BIGMYKE3. Anokoneka ine mfaro. Ndine wenyu Mike Hove, Muri Zimbabwe. Tosangana pano pachirongwa next week. Bye bye.